Let's talk about parsing command line arguments in Python. So we have a program here that uses Python's argparse module to parse two arguments, x and y, and it converts them to floating point numbers and then adds them up. Now, we have a lot of code just to parse two command line arguments. Why didn't we instead read sys.argv, which is a list of all of the arguments as strings, and then convert the two arguments we expect to floating point numbers? This does work. But the downside of doing things this way is if we make a mistake when we're calling this command line program, we don't get very helpful information. So if we pass too few arguments, for example, it doesn't really tell us much about what's going on. Or if we pass in something that isn't a number, we get a somewhat unhelpful error message, a little bit helpful, but mostly unhelpful. Also, if we ask for help, we don't get very helpful information at all. Now, argparse implements all of these features for us for free. So when we use the same command line program over here we had before using argparse, if we ask for help, it shows us usage information. And if we pass in too few arguments, it tells us there's another argument that's required. And if we pass in the wrong value for an argument, a non-number, it tells us this cannot be converted to a floating point number. So argparse is really handy for making command line interfaces that are friendly. But it's not just for simple command line interfaces like this one. You can also accept optional arguments. You can do that through options. So this argument up here is an option that can be specified with either -- expected equals something or -e, and then the argument that we're passing into expected. So this expected argument, when it's given, so if it's not given, it's none by default, but when it is given, it checks to see, was it equal to the total sum of these two numbers here. So in this case, 7 was equal to 3 and 4 being added up, and -- expected is the other way to call this optional argument. That works as well. It's a little bit of a silly argument we've added here, but we might use it for something like confirming issues with floating point addition or something. So here, adding 0.1 and 0.02 in Python gives you a number very close to 0.12, but not exactly, and so it gives us an error here. So this is an example of an option, an optional command line argument. But we can also make optional command line arguments that don't accept a value. So here we're accepting a value. It's supposed to be a floating point number. But here we've made an argument -- verbose, which its simple presence stores true. So if it is not given, we get something falsy. If it is given, we get true stored. And when it is given, it will make our program print out the numbers we are adding together. If it's not given, it does exactly what it did before. The last thing you can do with argparse, which is really handy to know about, and it's not the last thing you can do with argparse, there's many more features. The last very helpful thing you can do is add documentation for your command line interface. So this is very verbose here. There's a lot of text, but the end user, if they ask for help, they will see some very helpful usage information. This says that this program adds two numbers together, and it accepts two positional arguments, the first number to add, the second number to add, and it also explains what its -- verbose argument does. So if you're trying to make a friendly command line interface in Python, you can use Python's argparse module that is built into the Python standard library. It makes pretty standard command line interfaces, meaning they feel typical, they feel normal on Linux computers, Mac computers, and most Unix machines, and pretty normal on Windows machines as well.